Well, welcome to the 11th chapter of the book of Matthew. It begins with John sending his disciples. Verse 1, Ke ageneto ote atelason o Isus diatason tis dodecamathetes av tu. And it came to pass, when Jesus finished setting in order to the 12 disciples of mathetas, remember I mentioned the last time it has to do with mathematics, but it's not counting. Counting is arithmeo, but the derivative is mathematic, and or a disciple of metrics, and disciples. There's 12 disciples. I mentioned them before. Metavi akithan tu didaskin ke kirisin entes polisin avton. He crossed over from there to teach and to proclaim in their cities. So now Jesus is on his way. And he mentioned that he would be. His disciples came to these villages and towns and stayed where they were welcome, and told them that basically kingdom of heaven was coming, of Jesus. Verse 2, O de Ioannis acusas into desmotirio ta erga tu Christu, and John, having heard in the jail the works of the Christ, the Christu. We see this word many times in the Greek Old Testament. Sometimes it's the anointed one, like the king, because obviously it's not talking about the Christ, but many times it's explicit as far as the Christ, the anointed one of the future. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one it's talking about. And I have footnotes in most of these places pointing that out. In the Old Testament, the Christu, it's a transliteration with the he and the ch, the rho and the r, iota and the I and the sigma and the s, tav and the t, Christ. Pempsis Dio ton mathiton av tu, having sent two of his disciples, duo is a derivative. Epan av to said to him, Ce o erhomenos e eteron pros thokomen. Are you the coming one, or another are we expecting? This is John, the one baptizing. I didn't use the Baptist. Later on we'll go into that and I'll show it to you. Are you the one coming one, or are we expecting another? Eteron, hetero. Hetero is another derivative in English. For K. Apokrithis, and answering, O Isus, epen avtis, Jesus said to them, Porevthentes, having gone, apang gilate Ioanni, akuate ke vlepete. Report to John what you see, and what you hear and see. There's the alpha, gamma, gamma with a message or a report, a saying. What you hear and see. Acoustics, akuto is a derivative. 5, tifli anavlepsusi, blind look up. Ke holi peripatusi, lame walk. Lepri katharizonte, lepers are cleansed. Ke kofi akuse, and deaf mutes hear. And this is a quote in the Old Testament. At the bottom of the page you'll see there's the cross-reference, Isaiah 42:18. So when you go to Isaiah 42:18, you'll see that, and then it'll tell you in the footnote, Isaiah, go to Matthew 11:5. It's in the second edition only, not in the first edition. So go and tell them, the dead are raised and the poor are announced good news. The necri, and necropolis is a cemetery. Derivative of necropolis, and the poor are announced. Good news or good message. I think I'll change it in the next third edition to message. Announce the good message. Ke makarios estin os ean me scandalisti en emi. And blessed is the one whoever should not be caused to stumble in me. Scandal. A stumbling, and scandal is the derivative. Blessed are whoever should not be stumbled. Some people stumbled at Jesus. They saw the things that he did, and they still didn't believe. But Jesus says, blessed is the whoever should not be caused to stumble in me. And this is going to John, too. John is getting this message. 11:7, Touton they porevomenon, and these having gone, the disciples of John, irxato o Isus, legintis oklis peri Ioannu. Jesus began to say to the multitudes concerning John, Ti exilthete istin erimon theasaste. What did you come forth into the wilderness, a hermit, as a derivative, to see, a theatrics? Kalamon ipo anemu, salev omenon, a reed being shaken by the wind. That's what you see out in the desert there along the Jordan. Wilderness doesn't always mean a dry place, just a place that's not inhabited. Allah, ti exilthete idin. But what did you come forth to behold? Anthropon, in malachis, imatiis, emphiasmenon, a man being clothed in soft garments? Idu, behold, ita malaka foruntas intis ikis ton vasileon isin. Behold, the ones wearing soft garments, 3 are in the houses of the palaces of Vasilion, Basil, Basilica, derivatives. Alati exilthete idin. But what did you come forth to behold? Prophetin, a prophet? Nay, legoimin, ke perisoteron prophetu. Yes, and there's that nay, which it means yes in the Greek, not no like in Old English. Yes, I say to you, am more extra of a prophet. Utos gar esti peri u gegrapte, for this is whom it is concerning of whom it has been written, Idu, ego apostello, ton angelon mu proprosu pusu. Behold, I, the ego, I, apostello, there's an apostle, one sent. Apostle is the derivative, and that's a transliteration, but it means to send out, to send forth, apostello. My messenger before your face. And there's the angelon. It's not angel because it tells us is in the book of Malachi and Elijah, and it's not an angel. It's a messenger. So it depends on the context of when that word appears, if it's a messenger or an angel. Now, yeah, I suppose you could preach a message on either way and mix them up. Wouldn't be too wrong, but an angel is a messenger. I was sitting and talking to some people once, and somehow the lady, I was talking about the Bible, and she said, well, who are you? And I said, I'm an angel. She almost fell over backward. So I had to explain to her that an angel is a messenger. Anyway, before your face. Oh, so that's in Malachi 3:1. The footnote goes for the next page. Who, kata skavasi tin odon su emproston su, who shall carefully prepare your way before you, the odon, odometer, cathode, all these in the last chapter I mentioned. Verse 11, Amen, amen, lego imi, and I say to you, uk egigerte in genitis ginekon mezon Ioannu tu baptistu. There has not risen among one's born, the Genesis is a derivative, the Genesis, the beginning, and one born, birth of one's ginekon, the gene, the gynecology. Is derivative. Greater than John, the one immersing. I didn't use the Baptist because that would have just been a transliteration. And so many people have it so mixed up with John the Baptist. What is baptism? Is it a pouring on, sprinkling on, immersion, whatever? And all these questions. But it's immersing. It's used many times other ways that shows that it's immersing. You can do a study of 9:10. So I use the translation, rather the common transliteration. O de mikroteros in the Vasalia ton uranon mizon avtu estin. But here's an interesting thing that Jesus says. But the lesser in the kingdom of the heavens is greater than he or him. Micro is a small, microbe, derivative. Is the lesser in the kingdom of the heavens is greater than him. I don't know what he's saying exactly here. The kingdom of the heavens, is that just after a person dies and they're actually into the heavens? Kingdom of God is in you. A lot to be studied, and I'm sure there's been all kinds of commentaries on this. So is he saying here that the lesser that's already there is better than somebody that hasn't arrived yet? Possibly this is what he's saying. John hasn't arrived yet, because as we learned in the last chapter, the one who remains until the end is delivered. But we know that John did, from what it says in the Word. Apothe ton imeron Ioannou tu baptistu eos arti evasalia ton uranon viazate. And from the days of John, the one immersing, until just now, the kingdom of the heavens is forced. The prophets, they were taken and beaten and suffered all kinds of illness, harsh treatments, going into the kingdom of the heavens, and died. Ke viaste arpazu sin avtin, and is snatched by assailants. So some people are snatched from the kingdom of the heavens by assailants. That's why it says the one who remains until the end. We're always being assailed by assailants, the devil and the demons, the unclean spirits. Giving in to them is a dangerous place. Pantas gar I profite ke o nomos eos Ioannou proephytevsen. For all the prophets and the law, the nomos, astronomy, the law, prophesied until John. Proephytevsen. So all these prophets in the Old Testament, they prophesied. Even Malachi the last. Ke I thelete dexaste, and if you want to receive, avtos estin Elias. He is Elijah. O melon erkaste, the one being about to come. The spirit of Elijah is in John the Baptist. That's what I believe he's saying here. But Elijah is still being about to come. O echon ota akuin akueto, the one having ears, otology and studying the sounds, and an otolith is an ear bone in a fish. Akuin, to hear, acoustics, for both of those words. Tini they omiothso, tin genean tavtin. But what shall I liken this generation, a genia? There's a transliteration. Omia, homo, is a derivative, words that begin with the prefix homo. Omia esti pedis in agora, kathimenis, ke prosphonosi, tis eteris avton. It is likened to boys in the agora, the market. An agora is a market, a derivative, sitting down and calling out to their companions. So these bunch of boys sitting there. We can see this picture that Jesus is drawing. Ke legusin, and they say, Ivlisamen imin, we piped for you, ke uk or hisaste, and you danced not. You didn't do what we wanted you to do. You didn't play the game. Thrinisamen imin, ke uk ekopsaste, we wailed for you, and you did not beat your chest. They're not doing what they're complaining. that it isn't their way. What shall I liken this generation? Is likened to boys not getting their way, and they want their way. The Pharisees and the scribes, they wanted their way, and if they don't get it, then they cried out and came against Jesus with fury. Ilthan gar Ioannis, mite estion, mite pinon, for John came neither eating nor drinking, ke legusi, daemonion echi, and they say he has a demon. It's like they're complaining. They're not doing it. This isn't right, they're saying. Ilthan o eos to anthropu, here is the Son of Man, estion ke pinon, and drinking, ke legusin, and they say, idu anthropos phagos, behold, a man, a glutton, esophagus, the phagos has something to do with eating, ke enopotis, and a wine bibber. So Jesus was drinking wine, and they were saying he's a glutton and a wine bibber. Eno, a wine, is from that wine. And potis, potable, is drinking. Bibber, a wine drinker. A philos, a tolonon, philos, a friend of tax collectors, ke amartolon, and sinners. So they're right away coming against Jesus. This is what this generation is like. Ke dikeothi is Sophia, apo ton teknon aftis. And wisdom was justified by her children. Her children were the prophets, people that were bringing the truth. And wisdom was justified by the ones doing this. And they said many places that people would be suffering for the righteousness' sake. Jesus. In verse 20 it begins, Tote, irxato onidizin tas polis en eis agenon to e poliste dynamis avtu. Then he began to berate the cities, polis, metropolis, in which took place the most of his works of power, dynamite, dynamis, the deen, whenever you see that, it has something to do with power. Otiu metanoisan, for they repented not. A change, meta, and noisan, of thought. Is an interesting word to study, 3340. What is repentance? Changing the thought process, changing the mind. When you change the mind, then it changes the actions. If you just try to change your actions without changing your mind, it's really beating your head against a wall, because it's very difficult to change a habit, a bad habit, or something sinful just by attacking that. I see it as first you have to have a change of thought. You have to want to change and then work on the other part. Egenomene in imin. If in Tyre and Sidon took place the works of power having taken place in you, pale on in saco ke spodo metanoisen. Earlier indeed in sackcloth and ashes they would have repented. Saco, sackcloth. Tyre and Sidon. Now we don't mention too much in the Bible about Tyre and Sidon, like it does here down further with Sodom and Gomorrah, but he's saying if these things had been taken, they would have repented, like Nineveh with Jonah went to Nineveh and hated the Ninevites, didn't think they were going to repent, but yet they repented. Plain lego imin, but I say to you, tiro ke sidoni anektoteron este. It will be more endurable to Tyre and Sidon in imera kriseos, in the day of judgment, crisis, imin, than to you. I'm sure the Jews did not like hearing that, because Tyre and Sidon were not in Israel or in Lebanon. KC, and you, Capernaum, eos tu uranu, ipsothisa, the place raised up high unto the heaven, eos adu kata vivasthisi, unto Hades you shall be brought down. This Hades, Hades, is actually a Greek term. I think it's Sheol in the Hebrew. And there are all types of mentions in the Bible of these places of the final abode, if you more or less, if you want to say that. Hades is everybody in the Old Testament, they went to Hades. And it was also called the grave. And then there was the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom, which was a place that child sacrifices took place. And that more or less was only in the New Testament, but the Sons of Hinnom place was in the Old, and it's the same place. And that was where this eternal fire, this fire came, and Jesus attributed to an eternal type of a fire, an everlasting fire that does not put out. And then in Psalms 28:1, it talks about the pit, and that's another word. And then there's the abyss, which appears right at the beginning in Genesis and appears later, where Satan is sent to the abyss the first time. And then in Revelations 20:10, the lake of fire is mentioned, and that is where Satan is going, was sent, and his and the beast and the false prophet. And then in Revelations 20:14 is the second death, which the people whose names are not written in the book of life, have been taken out, are sent also to this lake of fire, which wasn't really designed for them, but that's where they're going to be going. Now, all these things, there may be other ones I've missed, and as we go through, we'll bring these out. Plain lego imin. And I say to you, oti gi sodomon anektoteron este in imera Chrysios ec, that it will be more endurable to the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than to you. Well, the land of Sodom had already been destroyed 1,000 years before. I'm probably talking about the people. It's just like he was mentioning a house. It's actually a household. The day of judgment. So there is a day of Chrysios, crisis, of judgment. This day of judgment, I believe, is for everyone. This is a judgment that shows us all to be sinners. And there's no getting around standing in front of a judge and trying to say you didn't sin. Job did. Apparently he didn't sin, but outside of Job, who I think was a type of a Christ. Christ is the only one mentioned in the Bible that was sinless. And we all have sinned. When we come out of the womb, we're born into sin. Sin is in the world, so we're born into it. And this day of judgment, when we all stand, I don't think is the same as the place of judging our works. That Christ is going to judge our works when we are with him. In 25, in Aquino to Cairo, apokrythis o Isus, Epen. In that time, Jesus responding said, Exomologume, see, I make acknowledgement to you, Pater, O Father, paternal, it's a derivative, Kyrie to Uranu, Lord of the heaven. Uranu, Uranus, the planet, means heaven. K tis gis, and the earth in geometry, derivative, and of the earth. Oti apekrypsas tavta apo sophon ke sinaton, that you conceal these things from the wise. Philosophy, Sophie is wisdom, and discerning. Ke apocalypsis afta nipis, and uncovered them to simple ones. The apocalypse, the uncovering. You concealed it from the wise ones. People that are wise think they're wise, and you uncovered them to the simple ones. And it has to do with humility and humbleness versus pride and arrogance. And this is what God looks at. Doesn't look at if you're drinking a glass of wine or a beer or certain things like that. It's the things of the heart that God's really concerned in. Ne, O Pater, ne, yes, O Father, oti utos ageneto evdokia emprostensu, for so it was benevolent before you. Ev is good. Remember, a good thought. Dokia means good thought, benevolent before you. He had a good thought towards the people and how he relates to people. He relates to the humble and the broken heart. And the person that is like that, he will not despise, he says. Panta mi paradothi ipo tu patros mu. All things were delivered up by my Father. Ke udis epiganoski ton ion imi o patir. And no one recognizes the Son were it not for the Father. So if you see Jesus and who he is, then the Father has directed this, that not made it happen, but he directs it so it can happen. This is his emphasis on on meeting him. He looks for people, and then somehow somebody comes along and mentions Jesus, and you learn about God. It's uncovered. Uve ton patera tis epiganoski imi o eos. Nor does anyone recognize the Father were it not for the Son. The disciples ask, well, can we see the Father? And he says, how long I've been with you, and you don't know that I and the Father are one. Jesus and the Father, you don't recognize. We're in furthest Jesus. Ke o eon vulite o eos apocalypse, and to whomever the Son should will to reveal, to uncover. Again, it's Jesus who is revealing these things when we come to him in a humble state. Devte pros me pantas ecopiontes ke pefortis meni. Come to me, all ones tiring and being loaded down. Boy, that's me, loaded down with a lot of things. Kago anapavso imas, and I will cause you rest. I had a fellow order the Bible yesterday, and it came with a little flaw in it. He wrote to me, and it shouldn't have been, and I was just loaded down with being bummed out all day, and had to send another Bible, and it was just, how come, Lord, how come how come the quality control of the printer didn't do better and catch these things? And here I was just super bummed out, and I was really loaded down and depressed. And then right before I got to sleep, I got an email from the fellow that was complaining about it and said, well, I'm going to use that book to do all my markup, so I'm just going to keep it, but I'm going to order another one in place of that one. And it was like, wow. It was completely changed me around from being all bummed out, and it was like, wow, this is just from God, he's causing rest in me. So the Lord is good. Arate ton zigon mu ephimas. Lift my yoke upon you. The zigon, a zygote, is a yoke is like a yoke that they put on top of the oxen. Two of them pulled the wagon with this wooden beam that went across both of the oxen so that they could pull better. And so, I don't know, maybe it's my yoke. So Jesus has this yoke. He's pulling things along with his strength. And so, lift my yoke upon you. Join in. I think this is what he's saying. Join in with his yoke in the work. Join in on the work. And ke mathete apemu, and learn from me. So you're going to put that yoke on you. Jesus is going to be on one side, you're on the other side. You're both pulling, and you're looking over here and seeing which way he's going. And that's the way we're going to go right, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And you'll start learning what the other oxen's doing, because there were probably one oxen who was doing it for years, and another new one comes along and put him under the yoke, and he didn't know what he's doing, but he's learning from the other oxen. I think this is what it's talking about. Oti praos imi ke tapinos te cardia, for I am gentle and humble in the heart. Jesus was gentle and he was humble in the cardia, and that the heart was a place of emotions in the thought process to the people in the times. Ke avrisate anapavsintes psyches imon, and you shall find rest to your psyches, your soul, the psyche, psychology, psyche, psyches. O garzigos mu Christos, and my yoke is gracious. It's not going to kick you and do anything bad to you when you're on the same yoke. Ke to fortion mu elefron estin, and my load is light. So you're not going to be grunting and striving in a torturous type of a work with the yoke of Christ. It's light and a lot easier than trying to do work on your own or work for the evil ones. Those works can be really hard and suffer horribly. But my load, he says, is light. So the 11th chapter, and we'll be going into the 12th chapter next week. I'm sorry, not next week, next seminar, video seminar, and is on the Sabbath. Interesting topic, and hope you'll join us, and God bless.